You've been living a lie. Not because you wanted to, but because the world taught you to. The lie that your worth depends on how much pain you can carry for others. But what if the pain you're holding was never yours to begin with? You see, most people walk through life carrying the emotions of everyone around them. They don't even realize it. They just call it being kind, being strong, being the one who understands. But Carl Jung once said, "The greatest lie is the one we tell ourselves." And the greatest lie of all is believing that healing others will somehow heal you. Today, we are going to talk about what happens when you finally stop carrying other people's pain and start carrying your own truth. No, the human sponge. Some people move through life like human sponges. They absorb every emotion around them, the sadness, the anger, the silence. They walk into a room and instantly feel the energy, the tension, the unspoken words. They sense when someone's hurting, even when no one says a thing. And without realizing it, they take that pain inside themselves. They try to fix it, soften it, carry it. It starts young. Maybe you grew up in a home where emotions were unpredictable. One moment everything was calm, the next, chaos. You learned to stay alert, to read the mood, to protect the fragile balance. You became the peacekeeper, the listener, the rescuer. You became the strong one. But what no one told you was that every time you rescued someone, a small part of you disappeared. Your boundaries blurred. Your emotions faded. And soon, you didn't know where their pain ended and your pain began. You were praised for your empathy, admired for your patience. But deep down, you were exhausted. Carl Jung called this the wounded healer complex, the pattern where people try to heal others as a way to avoid their own wounds. You think you're helping, but really, you're trying to fix the part of yourself that was never healed. 2. The wounded healer. Jung noticed something remarkable in therapists, doctors, and caretakers. He found that those who were most drawn to healing others often carried unhealed wounds themselves. It wasn't compassion alone that drove them. It was recognition. They saw in others what they could not face in themselves. So they devoted their lives to helping others, hoping that if they could heal enough people, maybe they'd finally feel whole. But here's the truth. When your desire to help comes from unhealed pain, you don't heal. You repeat. You attract people who mirror your wounds. You find yourself in relationships where you give too much and receive too little. You carry emotions that don't belong to you. And slowly, your life becomes a reflection of everyone else's suffering, except your own. This is the tragedy of the wounded healer. They can guide others to healing, but they forget to turn that wisdom inward. 3. Where it begins. The child who learned too much. The story always starts in childhood. Imagine a little boy or girl who senses that something isn't right at home. Maybe mom is anxious, dad is angry. Maybe love feels unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. So the child learns a survival skill. If I can make them happy, everything will be okay. That's where it begins. Not from strength, but from fear. Not from empathy, but from the terror of disconnection. Children in these homes become emotionally intelligent far too early. They start to manage other people's moods before they even understand their own. They learn that love must be earned, that safety is conditional, that self-sacrifice is noble. And when they grow up, they keep doing it. Not because they want to, but because they don't know any other way to feel safe. They become the friend who listens to everyone, but talks to no one. The partner who fixes everything, but never asks for help. The colleague who absorbs everyone's stress and calls it responsibility. They carry the emotional weight of the world, believing that's what love looks like. But it's not love. It's fear wearing the mask of compassion. 4. The cost of carrying pain that isn't yours. When you carry pain that isn't yours, it shows up everywhere. It's the constant exhaustion that sleep can't fix. The quiet resentment toward people who never notice your efforts. The anxiety that flares up when someone you love seems upset, even if it has nothing to do with you. You might even feel guilty for resting, for saying no, for choosing yourself. Because somewhere deep down, a voice still whispers, "If I don't hold it together, everything will fall apart." But that's the illusion. The greatest lie Jung spoke of. The belief that you are responsible for the emotions of others. Here's what Jung would say if he were alive today. Your soul was not meant to carry what does not belong to it. To heal, you must return what was never yours. That means letting people feel their own pain, letting them face their own shadows, letting them fall, even when it breaks your heart. Because true compassion doesn't mean carrying someone's pain, it means trusting they can carry it themselves. 5. The awakening. Realizing it was never yours. There comes a day, quietly, almost unnoticeably, when you start to feel the weight lift. Not because someone apologized, not because the people who hurt you finally changed, but because you did something they never expected. You stopped carrying what was never yours. That's the first awakening. It's not loud or dramatic. It's the kind of realization that comes when you're standing in the shower or lying awake at 2 a.m., and suddenly you see it. You've been living your life around other people's storms. Their moods controlled your peace. Their validation shaped your worth. Their chaos became your compass. And then you stop. You whisper to yourself, "This isn't mine." And the moment you do, something inside you cracks open. It's not the sound of breaking. It's the sound of release. That S where healing begins. In the quiet decision to put down what was never yours to hold. 6. The breaking point. When compassion turns into control, there's a fine line between compassion and control. It sounds harsh, but it's true. When you try to fix everyone, when you absorb their pain to make them feel better, you're not helping them heal. You're trying to control their suffering so you don't have to feel helpless. That's the shadow of the wounded healer. It's not malice. It's fear. Fear of watching someone you love struggle. Fear of not being enough. Fear that if you stop fixing, you'll stop being needed. But healing isn't about control. Healing is about trust. Trusting that others have their own journey. Trusting that pain has its purpose. Trusting that love doesn't mean carrying someone else's wounds. It means walking beside them as they face their own. When you start trusting that truth, something beautiful happens. You reclaim your energy. You stop chasing broken people. You start meeting others as equals, not projects. 7. The mirror. Facing your own shadow. Carl Jung believed that every person carries a shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or project onto others. For the wounded healer, the shadow is neediness disguised as selflessness. It's the hidden desire to be loved for always being the good one. It's the unconscious belief that if you're strong for everyone else, maybe someone will finally be strong for you. But here's the truth Jung wanted us to see. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. If you want to stop absorbing other people's pain, you must first look at the pain within you. The loneliness you buried, the guilt you've carried, the exhaustion you've hidden behind your smile. This is where the real healing work begins. In the mirror, not the battlefield. The day you stop rescuing others and turn inward, you start seeing the part of you that's been waiting to be rescued all along. 8. Reclaiming the self. Learning to live for you. Music shifts, brighter, warmer tone. As you peel away the layers of other people's expectations, you begin to see yourself. Maybe for the first time. You start asking questions you've avoided for years. Who am I when I'm not needed? What do I want beyond being useful? What does peace feel like when it's not borrowed from someone else's chaos? At first, the answers are quiet, sometimes uncomfortable. But soon, they become the foundation of something real: identity, You begin to set boundaries, not as walls, but as gates, places where love can enter without flooding you. You learn to say no, without guilt. You learn that helping doesn't always mean holding, and you discover that healing others is beautiful, but healing yourself is sacred. That's the shift. That's when everything changes. Number 9. The freedom that follows. When you stop carrying other people's pain, the world doesn't collapse. It expands. The colors return. The silence feels safe again. The things you used to tolerate start to feel impossible, and that's a good thing. Because that's the universe making room for the person you were always meant to be. You realize that your empathy isn't a burden, it's a gift. But like all gifts, it must be used wisely. You can feel others without becoming them. You can love deeply without losing yourself. You can walk beside people in their darkness without taking it home with you. That's what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation, becoming whole by integrating all the parts of yourself, not by dissolving into someone else's story. There comes a moment in life when you realize that you have been carrying weight that does not belong to you. Not because you wanted to, not because anyone asked you to, but because somewhere deep inside, you believed it was your duty to hold everything together. You carried the pain of others because you thought love meant rescue. You carried guilt that wasn't yours because silence seemed safer than confrontation. You carried responsibilities that belonged to people who never learned how to carry their own. And slowly, without even noticing, your shoulders began to bend under the invisible pressure of other people's chaos. Their fears became your fears. Their unhappiness became your constant concern. Their peace somehow became your responsibility. But here is the truth that no one ever told you. You can heal the world by bleeding for it. You can't absorb everyone's sorrow and still expect to walk upright. Empathy without boundaries is self-destruction wearing a kind disguise. Carl Jung once wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But how can you become yourself when your life has been a constant effort to protect, fix, or rescue others? How can you discover your own essence if every day is spent patching up the wounds of people who never choose to heal themselves? At some point, you must pause. You must look at your reflection and ask, what is mine, and what have I been carrying for others? That question changes everything. Because the moment you separate your pain from theirs, the fog begins to lift. You start to see that not every feeling in your body belongs to you. Not every thought of guilt, failure, or anxiety originates from your story. Some of it was passed to you, quietly, by people who couldn't face their own storms. Jung called this the wounded healer complex, the pattern where we are drawn to others' suffering because we unconsciously recognize our own. We seek to mend what is broken in them, hoping that in the process, our own cracks will disappear. But instead, we only deepen them, because every time you take responsibility for someone else's pain, you abandon a part of yourself. And what happens when you abandon yourself long enough? You forget who you are. You forget what peace feels like. You forget that your emotions matter too. Many people who carry the pain of others grew up in homes where love was conditional, where they had to earn safety by being the calm one, the helper, the fixer. As children, they learned that their feelings were too heavy, too loud, or too inconvenient. So they buried their emotions and picked up everyone else's. It was survival then. But as adults, it becomes a prison. You can't live your entire life trying to regulate other people's emotions. You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. Because sooner or later, the fire consumes you too. There is a sacred kind of peace that comes when you finally stop apologizing for letting go. When you stop explaining why you need distance, rest, or silence. When you no longer chase the validation of those who only loved you when you were useful. At first, it feels wrong. It feels cold. Because you've been programmed to believe that saying no is selfish, that detachment means you don't care. But that's not true. Detachment is not a lack of love. It's the beginning of real love. Love that is no longer based on guilt or obligation. When you stop carrying their pain, you start carrying your truth. You begin to notice how quiet the world becomes when you are no longer drowning in the noise of everyone else's expectations. You start to hear your own thoughts again. You rediscover what brings you joy, what makes you curious, what gives you life. You realize that peace doesn't come from being needed. It comes from being free. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the presence of self-respect. You can still be kind. You can still care deeply, but you no longer have to lose yourself in the process. When you stop absorbing the suffering of others, you make room for compassion that heals instead of drains. You begin to help from a place of strength rather than exhaustion. And that kind of help, calm, grounded, self-aware, is the only help that truly changes anything. You are not abandoning people by choosing peace. You are honoring them by allowing them to face their own path, their own lessons, their own growth. You are no one's savior, and that is your liberation. To stop carrying their pain does not mean you stop loving them. It means you finally start loving yourself too. Love that consumes you is not love. It is attachment disguised as duty. Real love breathes. It gives space. It does not demand you to shrink so others can expand. As you release the burdens that are not yours, your body begins to heal. Your mind softens. Your heart remembers what it feels like to beat freely. You start noticing beauty again. The small, quiet kind that doesn't ask for attention. The way morning light touches your wall. The sound of your breath when everything is still. These are not small things. They are signs that you have come back to yourself. Jung believed that healing does not come from running from darkness, but from integrating it. And maybe that's what this journey really is. Not escaping other people's pain, but realizing which part of it mirrors your own, and which part was never yours to begin with. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to prove your worth through endless giving. Sometimes the bravest act is simply to say, "This is not mine." And then, let it fall away. When you stop carrying their pain, something sacred happens inside you. You begin to trust life again. You begin to trust yourself again. You realize that the world doesn't collapse when you rest. People still find their way, and you finally have the space to find yours. If you have spent years being the strong one, the dependable one, the emotional caretaker, this is your permission to stop, to breathe, to be human, to exist without fixing, without saving, without explaining. Your peace is not selfish. It is your birthright. It is the foundation of everything good that will ever grow from your soul. So take this moment, right now, to lay down what isn't yours. Lay down their expectations. Lay down their sadness. Lay down their anger. You are not here to carry anyone through life. You are here to walk beside them as equals. When you stop carrying their pain, you finally make room for your joy. And that joy, quiet, gentle, resilient, becomes your new strength. You were never broken. You were simply buried beneath the weight of what was never yours. Now you are rising, lighter, freer, whole. And that is the moment everything changes. Thank you for listening. If these words reach something deep within you, take a moment to breathe, slowly, fully. And remember, healing is not about holding on. It's about letting go. Your peace begins the moment you choose yourself.